rights throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament. With a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame? Who were the best or worst players of the day? And have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
Every dream conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people never say we are mash up the night. Oh, what a feeling, don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit it dark, shine your lights out.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jody Ann Quarry.
Tonight, we begin with a question that every Jamaican who gets behind the wheel, steps into a roadway, or boards a public passenger vehicle should ask themselves, are our roads becoming any safer? This week, a 19-year-old lost his life in Manchester. In Canada, 3 farm workers were killed in a devastating motor vehicle crash. Those tragedies happened thousands of kilometers apart, but they are united by the same harsh reality. Lives cut short, families forever changed, and communities left to pick up the pieces. Tonight, we examine why road deaths continue to trouble Jamaica, whether we're finally at the point where we need to think beyond public education campaigns, and whether a different approach to road safety could help save lives. Also tonight, the third country national agreements. Since we first reported on this story earlier this week, the picture has become much clearer. The government has provided further details, and we, here at Lead Story, have obtained agreements from several Caribbean countries. We've compared their terms and will examine what they tell us about how these arrangements are being implemented across the region, what they mean for Jamaica. And we celebrate our daddies, because as Father's Day approaches this Sunday, we take time to celebrate the men who helped build our families. We'll talk about the importance of fathers, the pressures many of them carry, and how we can better support them, not just this weekend, but every day of the year. Plus, in State of Play, the World Cup continues to dominate the headlines. A horrific injury has sidelined one of Canada's key players. Brazil prepares to face Haiti. Controversy continues over FIFA's new match breaks, or hydration breaks. And we'll look at why rising tension around the Strait of Hormuz could have consequences for Jamaicans far beyond the football pitch. I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story. When we report on road fatalities, we often begin with the numbers. How many people have died? How many crashes have occurred? Whether the figures are higher or lower than they were last year. But 101 Jamaicans were killed on our roads in the first 5 months of this year. That's a headline number from the Island Traffic Authority. And measured against the same period last year, it represents a 33.3% reduction in fatalities. It's progress, genuine progress, good news even. But tonight we want to begin somewhere different, because behind every one of those numbers is a person who never made it home. A mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a friend, a co-worker. Someone who left home expecting to return, but never did. This week, a 19-year-old lost his life in Manchester. Meanwhile, all the way in Ontario, Canada, 3 Jamaican farm workers who had traveled abroad to earn a living for their families were killed in a motor vehicle crash. Their deaths are a painful reminder that road safety is not just a transport issue. It's a public health issue. It's an economic issue. It's a governance issue. And whether at home or abroad, the safety of our citizens on the road remains a fundamental issue of state protection. Now, for years, Jamaicans have been told to slow down, to wear their seatbelts, to avoid drinking and driving, and to pay attention. Yet, the fatalities continue. Over the past 20 years, from 2006 to 2025, a massive number of Jamaicans died. 7,420 Jamaicans were killed on our roads. So tonight we ask a different set of questions. Have we reached a point where the conversation has to move beyond individual behavior, drive, be safer, take care of yourself, and instead move more towards how we design our roads, enforce our laws, and organize the institutions responsible for keeping people safe? Now, inside this segment, given the importance of road safety, and as you enjoy yourselves on the road, you might be celebrating at World Cup events or going to parties and festivities, we want to constantly encourage you to be safe. We were to have during this segment the Vice Chair of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, but unfortunately he was unable to join us this evening. We are, I'm unclear here, I think my team is, we have discussions though about this issue all the time, and making sure that the management of our roads is something that we prioritize continues to be something that we want to bring to you. So we have instead road safety expert Canute here inside studios here at Lead Story to talk to us not only about the framework under which we operate, but also what it is that we need to do to keep every single Jamaican safe. He joins us on the phone now. Canute here, good evening and welcome to Lead Story. Canute here? Well, as we wait for him to be with us inside the show and have this conversation, you just heard a moment ago that it seems that we lost him. We'll get him back on the phone with us to continue having this important conversation. But there are some movements that have taken place over the past few months. In January, we have been told now that the government of Jamaica wants to move various and disparate parts of our road architecture under one umbrella. And well, just because I said one, it might have given you a clue of what I was speaking. That's the One Road Authority. And Minister with responsibility for this, Robert Morgan, has been speaking more and more about the One Road Authority. It would be joining various parts of the road architecture that belong to the National Works Agency, that belong to municipal corporations, and that belong to various parochial or parish council roads, RADA roads, all roads, all 27,000 kilometers of road network here in Jamaica would now be under a single umbrella. And that is something that has been suggested might be able to keep Jamaicans a little safer. it would allow us to have a single architecture, a single place to be able to put things in place, to have numbers about road fatalities, to know how road furniture and architecture are being built, and to make sure that every single Jamaican on our roads can continue to stay safe. But though it has been put in place initially, we're now in the building out period of this, and so we're waiting to see if this might be the answer to Jamaica's road woes. But let's ask the expert. Canute Hare, road safety expert, is now on the line with us inside Lead Story. Canute Hare, good evening and welcome.
Good evening and welcome to you and welcome to your listeners.
Thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story. For many Jamaicans, they are hearing now not only about the devastating deaths that have been going on, but also they say that we've been having this road safety conversation for years. There have been campaigns, enforcement drives, public appeals, legislative changes even with the new Road Traffic Act, and yet, well, they are still seeing far too many Jamaicans die on our roads. When you look at what's happened this year, especially with the 101 persons who have now died since the start of the year on our roads, what do you think we can do differently?
I'm going to say this, right? I don't want to use the word differently. I'm going to say that we need to institute operationalize the safe systems approach. That mechanism is a mechanism that seeks to treating the traffic environment as an ecosystem and to ensure that everyone who is using it, so you're looking at the human being, you're looking at the vehicle, you're looking at the environment to ensure that it is safe. Now, whenever a traffic crash happens, it's not because of a human behavior. It's three components operating at the same time: human being, the vehicle, and the environment. So I'll give you an example. You approach an intersection. Is that intersection safe? Was it designed safely? You are supposed to have what is known as intersection sight distance, right? So when you come to an intersection, you need a certain amount of meters. So there are intersections, for example, that when you come there, you only have an intersection sight distance of 30 meters, but you need 87 meters. So the driver is at a disadvantage. And the environment not safe.
And that safe systems approach you're talking about, Canute Hare, that comprehensive look at our roads is something that we have spent quite a number of years talking about. But as you said, we haven't implemented those things.
No, we have not implemented it.
There is a proposal, though, on the table for an incorporation of various bodies, because road safety is spread across a number of agencies: the National Works Agency, the police, the Island Traffic Authority, the Transport Authority, municipal corporations, the Road Safety Council. If you put that all together, that's a lot of fragmentation, a lot of different people. Is that part of the problem as well, that these various bodies don't have a single view? No?
No, I would not say that is part of the problem, because all of those entities that you have outlined, they all have different functionalities to execute, but the functionalities need to operate within the safe systems approach, whereby you designing your road network and the system for human beings who you know will make errors, and therefore it is more forgiving. So you're looking at the vehicles that come into the country. Are these vehicles crash worthy? Are they safe vehicles? Are they vehicles that will give people a fighting chance? Other things like people are to wear seat belts, whether on front seat and back seat. A lot of passengers killed were on the back seat. They were not wearing seat belts. They would have refused to give themselves a fighting chance to survive the collision.
And I think that is going to be so important, that fighting chance, wearing the mechanisms within the car for safety, making sure that the cars are safe, making sure the intersections are safe as well, is what you've now asked to be implemented as Jamaica incorporates the safe systems approach. Canute here, road safety expert who's helped us better understand how we get safer roads. Thank you so much for joining us this evening inside Lead Story.
You're welcome.
A pleasure to have you inside the show. When we come back, we turn to a story that has evolved significantly over the past few days. Third country nationals in Jamaica. We take the documents out and show you how they've been implemented across the Caribbean. Stay with us.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
You notice how life nice when you eat good? Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True Milk.
It's a golden jubilee. Celebrating 50. From foundation to rooftop high. 50 years as the cornerstone of the nation. Brick by brick, side by side, we've been building dreams all across Jamaica. Yeah. We're building communities, we're housing generations with trust and care. We light the way with LHD. Home starts here, building communities, we're housing generations with heart and hope. We lead the way with LHD. The key to your home. The key to your home. The key to your home.
You notice how life nice when you eat good? Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True Milk.
Now we're going to take a look at what has happened across the region because on June 10 of this year, Jamaica signed a memorandum of understanding with the United States government. The government has described it as non-binding and terminable on short notice. It provides for third country nationals, foreign citizens removed from the United States, to transit through Jamaica en route to their final destinations. It also has an agreed quota, up to 25 individuals every 2 weeks. Cabinet approved the agreement. The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security and Peace, Dr. Horace Chang, announced it at a post-cabinet press briefing on Tuesday, June 17. And for approximately 24 hours, the government's account of how this agreement came to exist was straightforward. Washington asked, Kingston agreed. But we didn't find out without the Gleaner on Tuesday. And then the Gleaner published a diplomatic note yesterday. That note, sent by the United States Embassy in Kingston to the Jamaican government, states that Minister without Portfolio Audrey Marks made the proposal herself. Specifically, the note says that on March 5th, 2026, at the America's Counter Cartel Conference in the United States Southern Command in Miami, Florida, that's when that discussion took place. When Dr. Chang was asked in Parliament whether a member of the government had approached the United States on Tuesday, however, he said, and I quote, "The issue of the TCN, or third country nationals, was a request from the United States government." Minister of Information, Senator Dana Morris Dixon, reinforced that position yesterday on June 18 in a discussion with the Jamaica Information Service, saying it is a U.S. initiative. Let's take a look at that clip now.
An agreement that is, as I said, being negotiated by the U.S. with many, many different partners. And there are other Caribbean countries that have already signed. And we are a key partner of the U.S. and we see the U.S. as a key partner of ours. And the U.S. approached the government of Jamaica as it approached other countries about this third country nationals program. All right, so this is an agreement that is, as I said.
So this discussion about who approached who first continues to be in the news. Minister Marks has not responded publicly about this. Her phone and WhatsApp went unanswered when the Gleaner sought comment. But it is notable, and we have to zoom out a little bit, all the things that we talked to you about in Global Lead, because in January of this year, Jamaicans were placed on a United States list of 75 nationalities for which immigrant visa processing, those are for those who want to move to the United States, that was put on indefinite pause. And it has been described as a calculated pressure move. Now, this discussion is something that we're watching. The government has not addressed that specific sequence of events, and they have indicated no pressure campaigns that have led to this decision. But Lead Story has done work for you. Tonight, Lead Story has obtained and analyzed 4 of the agreements that other Caribbean countries have already signed with the United States on the same matter. Let's go through them. Antigua and Barbuda signed an agreement with the U.S., Dominica, Guyana, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Other Caribbean countries have signed as well, including Belize and St. Lucia, but we're looking at these 4. And these documents reveal important things. They're important not for what they say, but what they tell us about how these agreements are built. Now, let's take a look at those agreements. We have the agreement between the United States and Antigua and Barbuda. The agreement with Dominica. Each of those, we're going through all the words of the agreement. And here's what we've noticed. They're not negotiated documents. They're a template. The United States Embassy in Bridgetown sent Dominica a diplomatic note on December 17, 2025. Dominica's Ministry of Foreign Affairs accepted it on the same day, verbatim. That means word for word. There was no counter-proposal. There was no modification. There was acceptance or rejection of an American instrument. The Guyana agreement, we also have that. And that's a single-page letter from Guyana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, dated November 25, 2025, expressing willingness to receive transfers. No cap or limit on those transfers, no structured terms, a letter of intent. The core language is identical across every agreement we have reviewed. The obligations cited: the 1951 Refugee Convention, you heard that talked about here, the 1967 Protocol, the Convention Against Torture, the principle of non-refoulement, a pair, and that's not sending people back to countries that they're being threatened. In every document, the termination clause, 90 days written notice, it appears every single time. And the clause that every government has cited as a basis for describing these as non-binding is exactly the same wording in every single document. It reads, let me quote it for you there, "Nothing in this MOU is intended to give rise to obligations under international law." Well, Jody comes and sits with you, not only as a journalist, but as an international human rights lawyer. And I want to be precise about what the clauses do and don't say. It's legally accurate to say that the MOU doesn't create new obligations under international law. Quite technically, it's true. But not sending people back, non-refoulement, is not created by this MOU. You can't send people back to places that they're going to be tortured or they left their countries for. Non-refoulement exists before this MOU. It exists independently of this MOU. It's another part of international law called customary international law. And it's binding on every single state, whether or not they're parties to that 1951 Refugee Convention and whether or not their agreement with the United States says otherwise. We didn't go through every single agreement, but other countries like Panama and Guatemala and Australia have agreements with the United States as well. And no matter where they are, it's the same. Not sending people back to places that mean them harm attaches to every territory. And it will attach the moment a person sets foot on Jamaican soil. Fully. Immediately. The clause that says this MOU creates no bilateral obligations is being used in Jamaica and by countries across the region, because the conversations we're having in Jamaica are exactly the same that happened in Antigua and Barbuda. They didn't find out first, they found out afterwards. There was a discussion about whether it needed to go before Parliament. Everything is identical. And this discussion is suggesting that these arrangements carry no legal consequences. But that's not what the law says. Now, in that interview with Jamaica Information Service last night, Senator Morris Dixon was also asked and did not answer this important one. You can fly anywhere from the United States to anywhere on the planet. So, why does the U.S. need Jamaica as a transit country? Let's take a listen.
There are many countries that have signed these agreements, and when you look at it, there are many in the Caribbean, many in Latin America. The U.S. does use them as transit points to the other countries as they're on their way out. And that's just the nature of the program as the U.S. has defined it. And they came to us on that basis, as they did all the other countries. And we have gone into negotiations on what we can handle as a country, which is a very small number, which is 25. And what is beautiful about our program is that we have noted in the MOU that if those who stay not continuing in transit ever goes above 10, the program ends.
Well, we need to know why they have to come to Jamaica to go to that next country. And that's not a procedural question. It's a fundamental one to this, because the answer has implications that go beyond logistics. Here's what happens. The agreements that we have read, Antigua, Dominica, Guyana, and St. Kitts, they are not transit agreements. They are removal agreements. The person arrives in these countries, they're accommodated, they may voluntarily return home, but there's no onward movement mechanism built into those documents. Jamaica's arrangement, as described by Dr. Horace Chang, is framed differently. He describes it as a transit agreement, and you heard Senator Dana Morris Dixon say the same. People passing through Kingston en route to their final destinations. That framing, that wording is going to be important in the document to see if our agreement is different from those others. And the operational core of what makes Jamaica's arrangement distinct is that we need to discuss why transit agreements exist. Well, when the United States removes someone directly to their home country, that person has legal standing to contest that removal in American courts. They can invoke due process protections, they can claim asylum, they can argue that you sent them back to a place that was unsafe for them, non-refoulement. The United States judicial system, even under the current administration, provides procedural protections that create friction for rapid deportation. But, when the U.S. transfers someone to a third country first, like Antigua, like Jamaica, like St. Kitts, like St. Lucia, that person's foothold in U.S. jurisdictions is severed. Their access to American courts is substantially diminished. The third country, in this case Jamaica, then becomes responsible for any asylum claim they make. And if the third country processes them quickly and moves them onward, the U.S. has achieved the removal it wanted without having to then litigate it on American soil. And we Jamaicans have seen this, with Dr. Horace Chang himself citing the case of a Jamaican national sent to Eswatini, stripped of due process, detained in a maximum security prison as part of his justification for why Jamaica needs to engage with these arrangements. Now, one thing before we go. We were being told that Senator Morris Dixon said the conversation that Minister Marks was having was about getting more people here in Jamaica to work. And they're being conflated, she said, being pulled together. That this third country national agreement and bringing other people to Jamaica to work from Ghana or other countries was happening at the same time. But let's think about it. If you need people from Ghana to come to Jamaica, why are you discussing this with the US government? Discuss it with the Ghanaian government. And so we are unclear as to what the connection is between getting skilled workers and having this discussion with the United States, unless we have a connection that persons who are in the US would be the skilled workers indeed. We continue to watch the story unfold, and we will bring more to you as Lead Story continues to find out all you need to know. Up next, though, we celebrate our daddies! Father's Day on Sunday, and the advocate of fathers himself, psychologist Dr. Leah Kim Samaj, joins us next inside Lead Story.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Imagine if I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Prevention is critical. That's why I recommend Colgate Total.
It's 15 times more effective at fighting the root cause of oral health problems. Prevent problems before they start.
The greatest show on earth is here, and Fan Central goes into extra time for 39 days right throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament. With a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame, who were the best or worst players of the day? And have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than
We're focused on loving on our daddies today, and that's the headline. But it's what we will be doing here inside Lead Story. This Sunday, Jamaica joins much of the world in celebrating Father's Day. It's celebrated on the third Sunday of the month of June. It's a day of cards, phone calls, family gatherings, and gifts. But this evening, we want to pause and ask a different question. Who takes care of the daddies? Who takes care of the men who spend so much of their lives taking care of everyone else? For generations, fathers have often been taught that their primary value lies in their ability to provide, to be strong, to keep going, to solve problems, to shoulder responsibility without complaint. But fathers, well, they're human beings first. They experience stress, they experience loss, they experience self-doubt, they experience mental health challenges. They need love, encouragement, and support just as much as everyone else. So this evening we want to talk about what it really means to support our fathers, not just this weekend, but throughout the year. Joining me now is psychologist and constant advocate of daddies, Dr. Leah Kim Samaj. Dr. Samaj, always a pleasure to have you with us inside Lead Story.
Pleasure is mine. I love the joy in your voice. That's so infectious.
I'm really happy to celebrate our daddies. I think it's so important that they get this important day. It's really important to be able to remember these people who have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they do it with such grace and distinction. Let me start, though, with what we do to celebrate our daddies. Because, hello, every year we buy the shirt. Daddy gets a new shirt, a new cologne. Maybe he gets new tools, ties. What a daddy tie, that tie. Every year you get a new tie. Socks and gadgets. But from a psychological perspective, What do fathers actually need most from the people who love them?
Affirmation, love. You know, the kind of things that you see, yeah, but you're tough, you don't need those kind of things. It's almost the same thing as you hear that children need your presence more than your presence. The issues of, you know, the tie and the cologne and those things, those are almost like trinkets. But spending time together, a day for daddy. The same thing you do for mommy, you can start with breakfast in bed. A special meal for me, the family gathering. If the children are scattered in different places, those phone calls during the course of the day, people calling and to sharing stories and basic. Nothing fancy, nothing big, nothing expensive, but the whole notion, it will never, however, come anywhere close. So if you try to get some place to take your mother for Mother's Day, at this time, everything booked out already. But Father's Day, I'm sure you can find any restaurant is available because we don't have the level of support that is for mothers. But spending time with him, talking to him.
Spending time with those fathers, sharing with them, talking to them is going to be incredibly important. But I'm sure they're still not hearing Leah Kinsimar say, don't bring the presents. You're not saying, you know, the gifts and the gadgets are unwelcome. He's just saying they don't... are not the fullness of the gift that you could perhaps give your father on Father's Day. Dr. Simaj,
exactly.
Right. Dr. Simaj, many men, though, grew up believing that they must always be the provider, the protector, and the problem solver. And as our fathers make their way through raising our children, through providing these roles, what effect do those expectations year after year have on their mental and emotional well-being?
It's hard because many times... I'm glad to say there's some change. We're in transition now. But the whole notion that big man don't cry. You suck it up and you deal with it by yourself. But you know this notion that anyway it maga, it pop, you know, and pressure bust pipe, that the emotional side of, first of all, father is a human being, but the emotional side is oftentimes suppressed. And he doesn't talk about it. And in fact, I wrote an article about earlier this week about when a man goes silent. A lot of women have to learn to understand what it means. So, for example, there are two code words. Nothing, and the other one, me good. Those are code words. It means that he's still processing. He's not ready to talk about it. He doesn't know how to talk about it. Because a lot of men were not socialized with the emotional and the verbal skills to describe their feelings. So it takes some time for them to find a safe place. And worse yet, if you ever be vulnerable around someone and then they take it and use it against you, it never happens again. So it's a thing in process that men are learning and figuring out how to do so. One thing I will point out, men, it's easier to talk to a man side by side than face to face. Face to face comes across like a confrontation. So like, for example, you go in on a drive, a country drive. You're talking side by side in the car. Much easier kind of conversation. But understand that men is something that they have never properly evolved, developed over the years because the focus was always on the provider component, the provider protector component. But that social side, that emotional side, that is where the problems lie. And oftentimes the sons, I've heard that a number of daughters have complained that daddy has never ever told them that they love him. You know, many grown women that daddy just take it for granted, daddy has never complimented them. So that when that happens, it impacts your future relationship because that is the first man that should be telling you how beautiful or wonderful a person you are. So that oftentimes the first man or woman fall in love with his daddy. And you learn from what you see with your mother and father. You see when they have an argument and they don't talk for 3-4 days. But then all of a sudden, you see everything come back together again. So you learn, oh, that's how it really works.
And you learn those conflict resolution skills. You learn how to be part of relationships and in society. And you also get the benefits of having your father nearby. Because Dr. Simaj, research continues to show that when fathers are emotionally present in the ways that you've just highlighted a while ago, children benefit academically, socially, and emotionally. What difference does an engaged father make in a child's development?
It provides a holistic component, because look, when you can count on daddy, it's a relationship once established, it's there for life. My daughters who are grown women now, when they're around daddy, it's still a safe space. And even many times the very fact that their husband have to really almost compete, because the first thing, if an issue comes up that needs to be resolved and dealt with, almost many times the first thing, call daddy, because you know daddy can handle it. You know daddy has your back. And many times when a woman comes to see me in terms of domestic violence or so on, my first question is, where your father there? You're not a big brother. Where your uncle there? Where are the men in your life that are there for you? And so, because that's the backative that a girl, a woman grows up with, that you have that backative, that person who's there for you. And it is there for life. But when the girl who never has that now, there's always this doubt in her. Is she good enough? And oftentimes, the first situation that comes her way, she doesn't have a frame of reference to judge it against.
So this is a father or father figure, because I saw that you made reference to uncles there. Big brothers might fill that role. Grandfathers might fill that role as well. So as we celebrate our fathers and those men who step in that gap, it's important for us then not only to recognize the importance of having them in our lives, but to as well celebrate them come Sunday. Dr. Simaj, though, not every father gets to live in the same house as their child. For fathers who are co-parenting, living abroad, or navigating separation, what are some of the most important ways they can continue to build strong relationships with their children, especially as they get to be celebrated on Father's Day?
It's even easier now. My father migrated when I was 7, but my father wrote me a letter every month, and there was a $10 money order in it every month for 10 years. Now we have WhatsApp, we have telephone, we have all kind of things now. So there are no excuses now. But the whole communication, it's important that that communication is maintained. Yes, there are circumstances where some mothers try to prevent the child from talking to the father, but it is important, and even the mothers who are hearing this, one of my mantras I teach young men: before you execute your father based on the testimony of your mother, have a conversation with him. Don't just go by what your mother said, you know, with Papa and them this and that. Have your own conversation with him to hear his side of the whole story. But fathers, don't just concede the space. Keep in touch with your children, because even our jurisprudence, remember that you go far enough, children were the property of father. And then the laws went to the other side completely. Almost, it was assumed it's the mother is the primary. But then now what we understand, what is in the child's best interest. And there are many times I have been called into these situations to represent the child.
And that best interest of the child is that central focus, especially on Father's Day, recognizing the importance of fathers. There are some fathers, though, right now, Leakim Simaj, who Father's Day celebrations can be very difficult. There are men who've lost children, who've lost their fathers. People have lost their own fathers as well. And those who've longed to become fathers but never had the opportunity. How do families hold space for those experiences as well on a day like Father's Day?
We broaden our range at fathering. Fathering is a role, and I'm glad you raised that component. There are those who yearn to be, but were never fortunate. And there are those who even lost their own fathers and never really properly resolved it. Because you know that people, they were carrying some hard feelings and so on, and then daddy died. And you never had a chance to have that last conversation. So one of the things that we could also use Father's Day to do is to mend the fences. You probably, for whatever reason, you haven't spoken to him in years. Just call. You all right? Yeah? You can start off as dry as you want to be. But the whole notion, mend that fence, because look, that's half of your DNA. That's half of who you are. And we have to figure out a way to mend these, because it's the foundation on which we build.
And I think it's so important then, as we look to Father's Day on Sunday, that we take the words of psychologist Dr. Leah Kim Samaj to help us better appreciate our daddies and to do well by them. Dr. Samaj, thanks so much for joining us this evening inside Lead Story.
Pleasure is mine. Also,
all right. We'll take a break here inside Lead Story, going to the State of Play next.
So life nice when you eat good. Natural feed, fresh grass, no stress. Stress? I don't know her. They say happy cows make better milk. Well, just look how happy we are. And I'm sure you can taste the difference. So move to the best milk ever. True Milk.
Conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people that I say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling, don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit it down. Shine your lights on.
The greatest show on earth is here, and Fan Central goes into extra time for 39 days right throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament. With a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame, who were the best or worst players of the day? And have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
Tonight's State of Play begins not on the pitch, but sadly in Ewerton, St. Catherine. On Wednesday night at approximately 8 o'clock, a football match was being shown on television. 23-year-old Lamar Mullings, reportedly in bed, asked that the volume be turned down. Police alleged that a 25-year-old man, reportedly his uncle, refused. An argument developed. That argument allegedly escalated into a physical confrontation, and Lamar Mullings was stabbed in the chest, overturning down the TV. He was taken to Lincoln Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The suspect has since been taken into custody by the Ewerton police on suspicion of murder. The matter is before the police, and no court date has been established just yet. And we begin here, because this is the Jamaican reality of this World Cup. The tournament that is captivating the world is playing out in our homes, in our communities, and in the case of Lamar Mullings, at an incalculable cost to one family in St. Catherine. We extend our deepest condolences. Now, to the tournament itself. Tonight is a significant night. Morocco is playing Scotland right now in Group C. The score is and remains 1-0 with a second-minute goal. Brazil faces Haiti in Philadelphia in what may be Neymar's last World Cup If, though, he ever makes it onto the pitch, he's not available for the group stages and might not be available for the entire competition, depending on how Brazil does this. And the United States faced Australia with a question mark over their captain and his injuries. Let's start off first on injuries. Brazil's all-time leading scorer, Neymar, 34 years old, has been officially ruled out of tonight's match against Haiti. He sustained a grade 2 calf injury playing for Santos in May. He has returned to limited training, but this week he's not been cleared to play. Brazil, Jamaica, Part 2 is Brazil as well. There you go, for many of you who support the team. Drew 1-1 with Morocco in their opener. They need Neymar. He's not available tonight. And we don't know where the goals will come from then. For the United States, Christian Pulisic, their captain and talisman, took a calf knock in the first half of their win over Paraguay and was withdrawn at the interval. As of this broadcast, he's described as day-to-day. Head coach Mauricio Pochettino said he's evolving. He's much better. But this afternoon, the U.S. defeated Australia 2-0 without him, even as Australia scored an own goal. It was a big back-and-forth match, a lot of drama, but the United States has now made it into the next round. Canada, meanwhile, suffered a devastating blow in their 6-0 win over Qatar yesterday. Midfielder Ismail Kone, 24 years old, broke his foot. And you see here his teammate holding up his jersey after scoring a goal for him after he came out. Well, he broke his leg following a tackle in the second half. He was stretchered off to applause from the home crowd in Vancouver. Surgery, we heard today, thankfully, was successful. A full recovery is expected. But his World Cup, lock off, completely over. And Morocco, who's playing right now, well, their captain is in the news as well. Achraf Hakimi, this morning, hours before his nation's match against Scotland, France's Versailles Court of Appeal confirmed that Hakimi will stand criminal trial on a charge of rape. The charge stems from an alleged incident in February 2023. Hakimi denies all allegations. His legal team has said the investigation overlooked critical evidence in his favor and that he welcomes the opportunity to speak publicly about the allegations. No trial date has been set. Hakimi, though, is presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty in a court of law. Then, the drama of the competition, the tournament's own internal debate, the hydration break. Today I saw it renamed as a match break because it seems that FIFA is hearing the boos in the crowds and seeing what is going on. But FIFA mandated that all 104 World Cup matches pause for 3 minutes at the 22nd minute of each half. Every single match. Regardless of in there cool and if the temperature is low, regardless of whether the game is played in an air-conditioned stadium where cooling is not a factor. The criticism had been pointed. Netherlands captain Virgil van Dijk laughed when asked about it. U.S. men's national team coach Mauricio Pochettino said, "I don't like it when the conditions are good. It's unnecessary." France's coach Didier Deschamps noted it's almost 4 quarters, and before we had 2 halves. The reason the criticism stings is this. FIFA has permitted broadcasters to air commercial advertisements during the hydration breaks. A 3-minute pause that was designed for player welfare has become, in the eyes of many, a revenue instrument. The beautiful game briefly interrupted for a word from our sponsors. Yikes. And finally, tonight, the world beyond the stadium. The Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed since March 4th of this year, following the outbreak of conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran in late February. The United States and Iran play in this World Cup, but ship traffic through the strait is at a near standstill. The World Trade Organization reports a 95% reduction in vessels carrying crude oil and a 99% reduction in liquefied natural gas shipments. For Jamaica, little us, which imports nearly all of its petroleum products, the impact is significant. Higher global oil prices feed directly into local fuel costs and electricity tariffs. The government is managing weekly fuel price adjustments. Well, we saw the cap at $4.50 per litre. We haven't moved out of that cap for money of the kinds of gasoline, but the pressure is upward. And as long as the strait remains closed, every Jamaican household and business will feel it. Fans are watching the World Cup, but the geopolitics going all around the world have not paused for the tournament. They never do. That's the state of play for tonight. Before I close, I want to talk to my daddies out there because it's Daddy's Day on Friday, and I want to make sure that you feel loved and safe and taken care of. And as we prepare to celebrate Father's Day this weekend, perhaps the greatest gift we can give our fathers is our time, as we heard there from Dr. Liakim Samaj. Something that can't go in a box, something special just for them. To all the fathers watching this evening, whether you're raising young children, you're in that tiny person stage of life, guiding adult children because they never stop wanting and needing you, or you're continuing to mentor the next generation, even as you play this father-like role in the lives of so many, whether your official title is daddy or not. Well, we thank you for your sacrifices, your presence, your contribution to the families and to the country. Happy Father's Day to you! I wish you all the very best on Sunday. I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story. Have a fantastic evening, and I hope you stay safe. Up next, CVM News.
And the music keeps on playing, and the people them I say we are mash up the night.